tax structures and being from the older generation to the newer one, just what the tax structures could be. So he wanted to get out of the ownership style a little bit quicker. And so we did a complete buyout here over the summer. And so financially they're out, and we've kind of brought in a different ownership model. And so that's kind of made some changes on how we do things and some different management style and stuff like that. So.
Cool. You're going to be sharing a little bit about that today?
Yes.
Morning, Frank. Look at that. Look at that Texas. Look at that Texas vista.
How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. How are you, man?
Good. Did my AirPod pick up? I'll just get.
I hope so.
I'm just going to set up the recording and the Facebook Live here as well. We got people coming on, but I'll just get that all underway so it's taken care of. I wonder what the difference is between going live on Facebook and live on Workplace. I've never got into that Workplace on Facebook. Did you hear that Facebook is working on a program to read our minds like they need to read our minds anymore?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be wearing little helmets, and Facebook will be reading what advertisements they should be giving us.
Yeah.
Hello, Heather.
Hey, Frank. How's it going?
Doing pretty well.
Good.
You guys
You're
know
south of
each
the
other,
border
hey?
now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an outstanding young farmer connection.
Yep.
Yeah. Some socializing, some dancing.
Some
Oh, really?
socializing. Yes. Yeah.
Does Frank do a mean two-step or what?
Frank's a great dancer.
Are
Yes.
you?
Isn't that
He
something?
leaves you very confident. Even
How
when
did
you're
you-
yelling at him, I'm gonna fall.
Okay. Yeah. So we missed all this OYF stuff this year. We actually were supposed to be hosting in Saskatchewan this year, and my wife was co-chair of the hosting committee, and well, had to cancel, right? So, but we can do all this Zoom stuff. So, but we can't dance.
No.
You could probably take like dance coaching online. Come on. How did you come by your moves? How did you come by your moves, Frank? Is just part of the culture growing up. Did you take any formal lessons, or where did you?
You know what? My parents were actually taking lessons, and on a bit of a sad note, my mom had cancer in '95, and she recovered from it just well. But so I just took on the lessons. And
good for you.
And that's kind of how that went. Yeah.
That is a life skill, brother. That is a life skill, which I need to work on.
Yeah.
My two-step is atrocious. Ron, let's check your audio.
Heather is an amazing partner.
Okay. Well, next time I get out east, if you ever get on a plane again.
There you go. The offer's there, Dan.
It will be soon. I'm gonna get vaccinated, and we'll do some two-step in here. Good morning, Ron.
Morning, Dan. How are you this morning?
Doing amazing, thank you. How are you?
That's good. Well, this is earlier than I like to be up, but we're here and somewhat awake. So.
Got to get all pumped up for 2021 early in the morning.
Does my video and audio match up, or should I turn off my video?
No, it all looks good. It looks really good. If you want to just bring the camera down a little bit there so we could get, you completely in frame, that'd be ideal. 21 on so far. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Brunel Stavern. How are you doing, man? Curtis Dunnington, nice to see you. David Beach, Jerry Winters, Greg Cooper. Morning, Mike Witkowitz. Tyler Wilson, Wendy Leeds, nice to see you. So we are still waiting for Marcel. It's Marcel's birthday today.
Oh, so little sleeping.
Yeah, I was asking him what the ritual is, if he's got breakfast in bed or what do you know.
No, he's got Dan Aberhart.
Happy birthday. Strategic
Yeah.
planning for 2021 on your birthday.
It's probably what everyone secretly wishes for.
The best birthday present I ever got.
With strategic planning.
Well, call me on January 5 then.
I just got to make sure he hasn't joined and he's not in the attendees, not the panelists, but it's all good. We'll probably give it a few minutes to let everybody get on as well.
Sure. Everyone grab a coffee.
Absolutely.
Frank, are you registered for TPAP online next month?
No, I did, and then I don't know, the form kicked me out, and they called me, and I haven't called them back. But I was gonna, yeah, I did all the things online to do it, and so I don't know. When they kicked me out, I was wondering if it was on purpose, but then they called me back that I should keep going. So
They reconsidered.
How does that work? Is it a one-year program or a multi-year curriculum, or what's the program?
There's
It's
2
2 years.
units. 2 units this year. I was planning on going back for unit 2 this year, but with everything being online, they're just offering 4 or 5 days of speakers or mornings of speakers spread out through January. And then it's kind of a promo. Whatever you pay now to register goes towards your registration next year if you want to come back.
Oh, nice.
So it's a 2-year curriculum.
yeah, that was excellent.
Mm.
I actually was on one of the TPAPs guys that were at it last January. Yesterday, I'm in Texas I was on a cotton farm, and yeah, it's a little bit like OYF in some ways. I mean, just top-notch producers and way, thinking way out there. It was really fun. Yeah.
Good morning, Marcel.
Good morning, fellas. I was a little bit tardy coming to the party.
Hey, on your birthday, you can get away with anything, man. It's your birthday.
It's your party.
Yes.
What's
Surprise!
yeah, what's gonna get what's going on for 39?
Well, good question. It's pretty gray, I guess. We're not having gray and thinning out over here. But yeah, so there's no significant parties that I should announce or probably participating in. So
What does a socially distanced birthday party on the farm look like?
that's a very good question. I'm looking forward to the opportunities that will present themselves. Horse riding, maybe.
You should fly down to Texas where Frank is, and you could have a real party.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Frank is one of the greatest guys that I'd love to hang out with if I had a chance.
No doubt.
Can't keep up to
Thanks,
him.
Marcel. We could go to Amarillo and have that 72-ounce steak.
Absolutely.
And with your Dutch roots, you'd make sure you'd eat it all so you could have it for free.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true.
Uncle Buck. 72 ounces.
Yeah.
That's a big slab of meat.
Actually, when we were down in Texas last year for TPAP, or I guess in January, we went out. There was some of us. We went out for supper the night before at the steakhouse at the hotel resort, and I think I had a 12 or a 16-ounce steak, and the potato they gave us was actually bigger than the steak. I have never, ever, ever in my life seen a potato that big. It was something else. So.
Whole jar of sour cream. Going
Everything
down.
is bigger in Texas.
Box of bacon bits. Lots of heat units. Oh, getting some funny comments by text I can't even repeat. That's a good sign. That is a good sign. So, Frank, you're down in Texas to network with some other farmers. You got the creative networking juices flowing. I guess you had a chance to rub shoulders with some good producers.
Yeah, it was. It's always fun, you know, when you go onto somebody's farm, you see where, you know, what they do, what their priorities are, different things. It's a buying group for kind of soil health and different things like that. And yeah, you see they have the same challenges but different. I mean, they deal with cotton and they deal with very sandy soil, and they deal with a cotton gin and all these things but in the end, it's exactly the same. So.
Spent some good time with John Deere down in Corpus Christi for training, probably 6 years in a row, and made some legendary memories in Texas, I guess. And what I look at now is I guess, relatively speaking, my youth, but it was a lot of fun. I love Texas, man. It's a great state. They have a great rodeo and barbecue in Houston every year. Houston, yeah.
So I was can't doing. I got a little late when see. That's the funny part here is about this webinar is I know every one of you on there. Usually it's not the case, but it seemed like pretty much every one of you have socialized with. That's I'm not sure what that tells.
It's a butterfly.
It's definitely been a little while, Frank. Yeah. Quite a few years I've took some step back on the political side and focused on the family and on the farm here. And yeah, it's good to see your name and be able to answer the tough questions that we may have today. So it's nice to have the chat for sure.
You bet.
It's going to be a corporate pressure cooker.
Although it's a little early in Alberta.
Oh, come on now, for a farmer. Already fed the cows and checked the markets and.
Where is your farm, Kent? Actually, I haven't ever met you, so.
Yeah, so we're 2 hours southeast of southeast Edmonton, kind of close to that Wainwright area. East Central Alberta is where we're at. Yep, it's grain and cattle. Lots of snow there today. You know, no, we missed the heavy snow so far. My son is it for it. We bought a sled with all these COVID rules and everything. We picked up a sled to do a few extra things like that since we can't play any hockey in our country. And yeah, the snow's all gone. We had some warm weather there. It's not all gone. I should say that it's just that hard and crusty snow. So we're waiting for that nice fluffy snow to show up, but it hasn't yet.
Mm-hmm. Same as over here, I guess. Like we never did receive much snow, so we're only down to 1 or 2 inches on the level, and yeah, we can go roll up fence this afternoon if we want to. Yeah. No, we probably have 3 or 4 inches of crusty snow. We had a few good days of snowmobiling early, but yeah, just trying to find a few different things to do. I'm sure you could probably clean out a grain bin for your birthday. That's a nice isolated, get the heart rate going and everything. Yeah, we'll start moving canola today, and actually we saved a lot of canola until spring. Unfortunately, we didn't hold on a few more months, but anyhow, so we kind of learned that these large bins that we need to manage the top tier maybe differently too, and pull those core of the bins, people say, and so we're going to start doing that today, in fact. And so hopefully there's no surprises for my birthday. Yeah, the whole marketing of canola was a different one this year. You can always say I wish I would have, but it's always nice too to move that, to get the canola moved and not worry too much about any heated grain or anything like that. And there's always next year. Prices are good for next year too. So yeah, that's right. A lot to be optimistic about for 2021, but I guess I'll save some of that for a few more minutes.
And all it had to happen is me moving out of the country for the canola prices to just rise like that. So why didn't you guys just pay me to go?
Finally, Frank left.
Yeah, we
needed a rally. Western producer headline: Franck Groeneweg finally leaves Canada. Producers get that rally they've been looking for. Well, who could get a rally in canola with the yields that you got, Frank? Like, let's be real. You're bringing down the market.
Whoa.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to have a lot of fun today. Man, I'd like to hit 100 participants here. We got 3 more. We got 3 more to go to hit 100 before we roll. Danny Ottenbright says to panelists, that was how my canola specials were delivered. The Frank's Gone special. It'd be a theme. I got something else I want to give you a hard time about. Frank, Marcel, and I talked about last night, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Okay. All right.
99 participants. Oh, I just need one more. I'll get this thing started. We are live on Facebook and the internet, by the way, just so you can, censor yourself accordingly.
I was on the internet.
There we go. 100 folks on the webinar.
Woo! Yay.
That is exciting. What a conversation it's going to be today. I guess we'll get started here. So I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction, but I won't be doing a whole lot of talking because we got a lot of wise men and one wonderful lady who's going to be helping me, facilitate today. So we'll get to meeting everybody and talking to everybody, but a little bit of housekeeping. This is just absolutely a great way to end the year. I know I felt a lot of excitement about this webinar. I don't want to speak for Heather, but I will. She's excited too. And I think the reason is that farmers want to hear from farmers. Had a lot of webinars in my career, but the response to this one has been exceptional. And it really speaks to, I think, the quality of the folks that we got on the call and the nature of the topic, which is strategic planning with 4 different prairie producers. So I just wanted to take this opportunity, though, to say on behalf of our family company and our family companies, thanks to everybody in our network. It was a tough year, but we actually ended up having a really good year in agriculture, and we've got to be thankful. So from Eberhard Farms, I know I can speak for my brother who's on the call, and Eberhard Ag Solutions, our fertilizer distribution company, Sure Growth, the agronomy and the research side, the Growing the Future podcast, which Heather was recently on, and the newest member of the family, Convergence Growth. Thank you to everybody, all of the customers and staff and dealers. It just takes such an incredible team to do what we're doing. And we're just really grateful because we had a record year in Eberhard Ag. And so thank you to all our customers and dealers and our team. I just wanted to say that. And I'm just personally extremely honored to be in ag and doing what we're doing. We love what we're doing. And we're a family in agriculture. It's really special. It's something that brings us together. And, not everybody in industry has that feeling or community. And I think that's what today is about, is coming together, hearing from each other, kibitzing a bit, and getting better as we go forward. And I think the opportunity in agriculture for food production, for the economy, for the environment is second to none. And I personally wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And so I'm honored to be here with all of you today. So I wanted to say that before we get going. So farmers want to hear from farmers, and that's what today is about. And the inspiration for this event came from a couple things. One is Strategic Coach, where we often do exercises like this. It's very simple. You sit down, you write stuff out, and you think about your thinking, and then you share it with others and share it with a larger group. And another thing that really inspired it was the strategic planning we've done within Eberhard Ag Solutions at the end of the year. That's been a really good process. And then I had an opportunity to sit on Eberhard Farms Advisory Board and listen in. I didn't get into giving Terry any advice. Usually that's Terry's given me advice on the businesses, but that was really inspiring and reinforced the importance of strategic thinking. And then recently, Farm Management Canada did a podcast about strategic management with Terry and his son Holden. So Heather Watson was on the call, and Jörg Zimmerman used to be a CFO for Eberhard Farms. they did the most amazing conversation on strategic thinking and farm management. And so I get the opportunity to edit these things, and so much wisdom came out of that. And I just got thinking, like, why don't we just get 4 producers together and just pick their brain? And so all of the folks on the call came to mind, with the exception of Kent Erickson, who I had contacted Matt Gosling and said, who is the coolest producer in Alberta? And he sent me the contact, and I called him, and he said yes. And then bringing Farm Management Canada into it has been incredibly exciting, because we love the organization. We've been part of their events. They just had their Ag Excellence Conference. And like I say, they did a tremendous job on the show recently. I think it's a great conversation. And management and strategic success is the dark horse of being successful. So with that, I want to introduce my lovely and amazing co-host and friend, Heather Watson, who I guess we first met at Saskyoung Ag, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were the awkward guy in the corner with a booth, and I was the girl recovering from a migraine. It was a match made in heaven.
Love it. Awkward guy in the corner with the booth. Yeah, that's me. Story of my life. But we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun at Saskyoung Ag. We blew it up. So Heather, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about Farm Management Canada. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on strategic farm management.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and Dan, feel free to cut me off because I can go on and on. I do tend to be a bit of
I got my gong.
talker.
I got my gong right
Whatever.
here. Boing.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I'm Heather Watson, Executive Director at Farm Management Canada. So I guess the important thing to know is maybe where we started, because reflecting on where we are today kind of makes me think maybe we're gonna kind of repeat history a little bit. So we were born out of crisis after the 1980s financial crisis, where commodity prices tanked and interest rates soared. A lot of farmers found themselves struggling and in trouble, and industry and government we're looking at a solution. Like, what do we do to help these farmers prepare for whatever may come? And they turned to investing in farm business management, specifically skills development around the business practices. And that's where we were born in 1992. So our mandate remains the same today. So kind of increasing awareness, appreciation, and adoption of farm business management practices on the farm by Canada's farmers. And so we do so, we host learning events, we create resources, we do research, all sorts of things. And most importantly, connect with all the other folks out there to try and encourage and inspire a business approach to farming, realizing that it's not probably the reason that farmers got into farming, but it is kind of that necessary piece that, do you want me to keep going, Dan?
You're doing amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll get into why we believe in the importance of things like planning, strategic planning, all sorts of planning, because it's not necessarily having the plan, although that is important as a reference point. And I always call it a trusty sidekick when when you need to weather the storm, or when tensions run high and decision making becomes clouded. But it's that planning process. So having time to kind of lift up your head from the day-to-day grind and step back and kind of think about the bigger questions. So why are we doing this? What is it about this that gets me out of bed in the morning? What is it about this that helps me sleep at night too? And why are we doing this? Why am I doing this? But then all the people around me, what's their investment in the future of the farm? And so from there, you can start having conversations about the future of the farm and everyone's role within it, which helps when it comes to things like, handling family issues and opportunities, but also the farm team and that important transition planning side. So when folks start to see their place in the future of the farm, they can become excited about it and they become more engaged about it. And you can start thinking about, what are my passions? What are my talents? And what's the place for that on the farm? And actually, building that space. So instead of saying, okay, I'm 72, I'm ready to leave the farm, here you go. It's all up to you now. It's more of a, okay, we're on this Titanic and we see the iceberg of the farm transfer well in advance, so we can steer clear and make sure that we're not just dumping this crazy situation on the next generation or whoever may take over your farm. So we've also found in our research that very recent research from the summer is that planning not only supports positive mental health, so contributing to peace of mind, but it also helps to build confidence, interpersonal relations with family and the team, helps you prioritize, make decisions, and drive financial performance. So it's like, hello, it's pretty important. And I think the last thing I would say, well, I guess two things I could say, is that I think that, when producers have equal access to all the technology out there, all the inputs, all the production wonders and genius, say across Canada or the world, the one thing that differentiates the farmers is the use and application of business management skills and practices. So we see it as kind of the competitive advantage for our farmers, because you can't, it's not an innate ability, and it's not something you can buy off the shelf. It really does take that training and that focus on, on managing the farm as a business. And then the sad story is 21% of farmers across Canada have a written business plan, and less so have other types of written plans. And 40% of those say, we don't need a plan because we're succeeding without it. So I'm hoping that today we can combat some of those negative connotations towards planning, and hopefully we can work with our farming friends here on this broadcast to talk about the importance of planning ahead, and I guess the positive impacts they've seen, the challenges they've faced along the way, but how this type of process contributes to success, because we see it in the research. And it'll be really interesting to explore how you guys are approaching the whole strategic planning side of things, especially this time of year when we're getting ready to launch into a brand new year, and see what we can do, what we've learned, and what's ahead.
Love it. I'm so motivated about strategic planning right now. It's hard to contain my enthusiasm. I love what Mike Tyson says about it. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth, but that doesn't mean he just, gets pumped up for going into the ring by listening to his theme song on the way in. And that's it. You still have to spend the time in the gym, and that's what today's about. So without further ado, let's get into meeting our folks, and then we'll start with the questions. So I wanted to start going west to east here, because that's kind of how the money flows in Canada. Is that fair? Who's further west here, Kent or Frank? Well, Kent is right now because he's in Alberta, and Frank, you're in Texas. So Kent, let's meet you first. Kent. Yeah, let's hear from Kent Erickson from Alberta. Who are you? What do you do? What does the farm look like? And where are you here?
Yeah, so my name's Kent Erickson. I farm in Irma, Alberta. It's 2 hours east of Edmonton. We have about a 4,000 acre grain farm. We're building our cow herd slowly but surely. We've got about 100 bred cows. We sometimes like to keep our steers and heifers and background them. We have a family farm. We've been here since 1908. My wife is very active on the farm. My dad is active as well, although we're transitioning, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I was involved in politics on the agricultural side, where I've met Frank and probably a few that are listening in here. Really exciting. Got to spend some time in Ottawa, where Heather is right now, doing some PR and some lobbying of government, and settled down. All my kids I've got a 16, a 14, 12, and a 9-year-old. All play hockey, 2 boys and 2 girls. We're not playing hockey right now, so we're going a little bit stir crazy. And our farm has been transitioning. I've got a variety of different levels of angst and success stories on strategic planning that I'll talk about, and just excited to be on the panel today, Dan.
Thanks so much, Kent. I appreciate that. Frank?
Well, for myself here, I farm by Three Forks, Montana. Newly moved down there in March. We were farming northeast of Regina, about a half an hour by Edgeley, Fort Capel. And in 2017, I hit this midlife crisis and decided, in 2018, as a family, we put the farm for sale, and there were good values. And then it was like, what are we going to do? And we had all kinds of ideas. Maybe it'd be going to Kazakhstan. Well, that was my idea. The kids rolled their eyes and, Dad, stop telling us all these crazy ideas. So there was this farm in Montana that we went to visit, and the kids looked at it and say, "That's it, Dad, don't dream anymore. This is the place we're going." So we did. And so we bought it with a crop in 19, and that was a great year. And then of course, this year we moved the day the border closed on March 18, which was a little bit crazy. We put a crop in. It was a dry year. We farm now 14,000 acres of winter wheat, spring wheat, chickpeas, and we're affiliated with the Wheat Montana Bakery in Three Forks, where we market wheat. Not all our grain goes there, but that was one of our wish, be closer to the consumer, and that's been very interesting. So we're it's really neat to be on this on this webinar, knowing every one of you guys, and I get a big part of my heart still in Canada, and a big part of it back in Iowa, and a big part of it in France. So I'm a little bit divided. So
You're global. You're a global dude. I love it. Thanks for coming on, Frank. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay, let's
Thanks.
go over to Marcel now. Morning, Marcel.
Yes, sir.
And happy birthday.
Thank you very much. 52, by the way, not a day more. So, yes, Marcel Van Stavern. I farm here in southeast Saskatchewan, in the southeast of Regina, in the Weyburn, Estevan regions, I guess. Creelman, Fillmore, Stoughton. Farm with two brothers. We've done we're generation 2.0. We're the descendants of Dutch parents and uncles that came here in the 1950s and began their farming then. So we're carrying the ball, I guess, from that point forward. So yeah, and now we're transitioning here into generation 3.0, where my two sons are actively farming with us, and my brother's two older sons are also farming with us. So we have a cooperative family farm unit that gets along quite well, and we're very much having a lot of fun putting this all together and keeping it going together. And so we're farming right now about 22,000 acres. We do have a few acres that we do some custom farming for a few fellows. My lawyer's got 75 acres, and there's another fellow that we bought out, and he still has 600 some acres. So that's part of our mix. So we typically seize opportunities, I guess, annually, and however that comes along. So we're typically growing a third of our acres into canola. Durum is a big part of our farm, and red lentils. Soybeans we keep playing with, and we're slow learners in that our success hasn't been overly strong, but nonetheless we're happy soybean growers at a small scale now. And hard red spring wheat, we battle between spring wheat and durum, but that's those are our 5 crops. And basically we're excited about where we are today and where the future looks for us going forward. Really excited for 2021.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much for yourself for coming on. Next up, last but not least, is Ron Krahn.
Morning. My name's Ron Krahn. I farm together with my brother at Rivers, Manitoba, which is more on the western side of the province, just northwest of Brandon. We grow wheat, canola, peas, soybeans, sunflowers, and I'm a wannabe corn farmer. So learning to grow new crops is always fun. We've basically finished our transition from our parents to my brother and I, our generation. We all live on the same yard. There's three dwellings, and we've got there's 6 kids on the yard. At least one of them is showing interest in farming right now. So he's 18, and so we're starting to already think about transition or succession and what that looks like for the next 15 or 20 years. So that's kind of, it feels like we just finished one transition. We're already thinking about the next one.
Very cool. Well, as everyone on the call can see, some very interesting folks to chat with. I want to tell you how this is going to roll. Heather and I are going to oscillate or switch off between asking questions of the producers. And I hope that you all had a chance to download the strategic farmer scorecard that Heather had prepared. Thank you, Heather. She did a great job of it. And this is about thinking about your thinking. So I hope doing the process of filling this out and thinking about this yourself, and then hearing these producers' response as we go, will be an informative strategic process for you. So without further ado, let's get into our content. So I'm going to put it over to Heather to ask of the panelists our first question. Take it away, Heather.
All right. Thanks so much, Dan. So thank you in advance for doing a little bit of homework for us for today's broadcast. So we wanted to start with looking back at the last year, at 2020. And the question is, what are you most grateful for? So we asked the farmers on the panel to list the 3 things they're most grateful for. But we also asked them to kind of identify the biggest one. So if I could ask you all what you're most grateful for, and perhaps I'll switch up the order just to make things fun and exciting and make farm management sexy, which is what we promised. So what are you, looking back at 2020, what are you most grateful for, Marcel?
Well, the 3 things that I had identified, I guess, were the land opportunities that we were able to seize. I guess we've been building this farm unit over the course of time, and I'm very happy with some of the opportunities we've been able to seize. A second point was the teamwork. We as our farm has been growing, we've been working with more and more hired people, as well as our own generation. So my youngest son is 18. Suddenly he was home this spring with COVID. He was done grade 12 early, and so he took on a role with our GPS type of equipment and prescriptions, etc. So that was exciting, and that led to my third point in what was the greatest for 2020 was we're doing a better job of putting in roles and responsibilities for everybody in the team. So people are feeling are having opportunities to express their strengths and weaknesses.
Nice. That can be a very rewarding experience, I find, when, it's easy, I think, to make assumptions about what people want and their desires and where their talents might be and what feeds their soul. But, facilitating that opportunity to share is awesome. That sounds great. Lots of things to be grateful for. All right, let's skip over to Kent. What were you most grateful for looking back at 2020?
Yeah, I think it was a very unique year with for a variety of reasons, but there definitely was a few things to be grateful for. So my 3, and in no particular order, but obviously to spend money, you have to make money. And it's really, prices for 2020, especially in the latter part of 2020, have really helped with the farm. And we have a very diverse crop rotation. We grow 8 different crops here. And so that really helps. It helps you with the ability to change your line of thinking on how you're going to run equipment or update some equipment, which really helps. I think the second point, we've had a couple of real tough harvests. We did some flax in May of this year due to the 2019 harvest. That puts a lot of stress on your operation when you have crop left out. And the environment and the weather isn't something that you can manage very easily. And so this year we had a great harvest, and that really took a lot of pressure off the family and off the farm. And the fall weather up until now has been really good. We've been able to move a lot of grain. And so that just takes stress off, and anything that can take stress off your operation is important strategically. And finally, I'd be remiss to say in this world that we're sitting at home and talking on these Zoom calls is a healthy family. Our operation is pretty much all family. My uncle and my dad are very much involved, and my wife and I are partners in the management side. And then now I have a 16-year-old that's got involved. And if we weren't healthy as a family, the operation wouldn't exist. And so that was really important looking back for 2020. And I think obviously to prioritize one, it would be a healthy family. If you have employees, anything, a good, healthy workforce is something that takes the stress off your operation for sure.
Wonderful. That's great. And I think, that attention to, we're seeing more and more attention to mental health as well as physical health, and seeing how, you know, making sure that we're paying attention to both of those sides, because really farming is about, of course, it's growing things and feeding people, but if we don't have people to do that, and healthy people of sound mind and body to grow the food, fuel, and fiber, then, you know, it makes it pretty difficult to do what we want to do. So that concentration on the people and keeping our agricultural people healthy, and especially our family, is great. Thanks so much, Kent. That's awesome. And Ron, how about you? What are you most grateful for looking back at 2020?
Excuse me, looking back at 2020, my top three things, I guess, would be just increased resiliency by the end of the year. 2019 was that so-called punch to the mouth, as Dan referred to, I think, in that Mike Tyson quote. The harvest was brutal. As Kent mentioned, we had crop out as well. And just through a few other things that happened through the winter, I found out that I struggle with anxiety. And so kind of coming from a pretty dark place to feeling good again, and just realizing. So my second thing was just enjoying farming again. It's been a good year, even though it was a tough year again, 2020, but it was fun. And so my third thing that I'm just very grateful for was an easy harvest. I'm not sure I could have handled another harvest like last year.
Okay, that's great. And very, very revealing. And I thank you for your transparency and your vulnerability. Speaking about the anxiety that you experienced. And I hope throughout this discussion today, we could learn a little bit more about how you've been getting through and kind of what got you through. I'm really happy to hear you're feeling good again. Because yeah, I think when we struggle with stress and anxiety, everything else kind of is just put on hold. You know, it's realizing mental health can be as devastating, if not more, than any sort of physical injury you can imagine. So we're really pleased to have you with us today and sharing your experience and your story, and we're grateful for you. All right, last but certainly not least, Frank, looking back at 2020, what are you most grateful for?
Looking back at 2020, well, of course, we moved to Montana, which is we're very happy that move went quite smoothly. The family did adapt really well. So you know, that was something we planned over a couple of years before that, and it went really well. So we're grateful to be there and enjoy maybe a new setting, and to look at different goals and things like that. And to just like Kent, our family is healthy, and that's a very big thing. I mean, so much uncertainty, and we can talk about COVID, but we had so many things that were focused on COVID, but anything else out there, you know, so many ailments and so many things. We've been healthy, and it's been great. And you know, hopefully that's not coming a little bit dark, but the opportunities that COVID provide. I mean, I subscribe to this. When you're handed lemon, you make lemonade. Well, you know, you can look at all the things that we can't do, like that we were accustomed to do and we enjoyed. Well, I see, you know, would we be on a Zoom call today with 100 participants? If it wasn't for that, well, we probably wouldn't be. Would we be at a conference? Yeah, maybe we would be. That's possible. But it has provided. A while back, I was on a conference that happened in Ireland, but it was in my office that happened, and there were speakers from around the world. So I think the speed of learning can be increased, and there's so much more pick and choosing that can happen that you won't have when you are in person. Now on the other side, when you can't learn from you know, personally, just over in a hospitality suite at midnight. Well, then you can go visit these people, and I think so. I made a point of making it a little more closer, and so I'm enjoying some of these opportunities and the opportunities on the farm as well, to be maybe connected closer to the consumer, whether the consumer is looking for that link. So these are the things that I'm grateful for.
Wonderful. And I think it's really nice to kind of comment on how, obviously COVID has been devastating as a global pandemic, but for those who have that optimistic mindset, entrepreneurial, never stop racing in your mind, finding those hints of silver lining and finding those opportunities, is where, we can really appreciate that, obviously risk management is key in times like this, but risk management is as much about managing the negative impact as it is finding opportunities and being able to take those risks when they come. So I like that kind of comment about mindset. And just before I kind of hand things off to Dan, it's just, I wasn't really sure what to expect from the answers, but it seems like a tremendous focus on the people. It's the people that you're grateful for, and it's the health of the people in mind and body. And I wasn't sure what I was expecting. I wasn't sure if I would hear about, oh, well, we got this variety and it, performed as it was supposed to, or we got this new equipment and it's great. But it's really interesting, when you make the time and take the time to focus on what are you most grateful for, how it becomes about people and about yourself as well. So thank you very much for that. And Dan, shall I pass it on to you for the next piece?
Love it.
There?
Absolutely. Okay. So what are three things that went really well this year? What are you proud of, Kent?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. So I think for us, in no particular order, again, we take quite a bit of pride. My dad is a business partner for many years, has been on the farm since 1980. But our harvest time management, being that we've had a couple of tough harvests, and we've really strategically thought about our harvest management and bin allocation. We use grain bags. My wife coming in, getting involved now. Our kids are all in school, so it gives me more opportunity for us to be both involved as operators, and so that's really helped with grain cart operation, combines, things like that. The second thing as well, with the experience that my business partner has, is just some iron efficiency and utilization. We're kind of in a sweet spot with a lot of our equipment, which comes with a few side effects we'll talk about later. And lastly, this year we've transitioned. My dad has had a long-term transition and a long-term goal on the financial and ownership structure of our farm. We went through that this summer. I kind of want to look at it. You have a time when you're the executive director of an organization, you put your stamp on it. Dad's put his stamp on the farm for the last, 40 years. Now kind of that passing on of the torch and that timestamp, now it kind of closed that strategic plan and we open up a new one and going forward. But I think that whole transition went well, and I'm really proud of how that went. And that was probably the priority for this year, was just to get that moving forward, just for the betterment of our whole organization.
Very cool. Frank, what are three things that went really well? What are you proud of, my man?
Well, this past year with our move, you move into a community and you never know how you're going, what's going to happen, who's who in the community, right? And that move went really well. Our integration went really well, and you meet farmers, you meet new grain buyers, and all this, and not only for me, but for my wife, for our kids, our church as well. That was just really well. It went really well. So that's one thing, that you can move somewhere, but you never know, what if you make a big blunder or you just find something you didn't expect, and then it's uphill from there. No, it's been awesome on that side. We're selling closer to the consumer with this bakery, but also we're trying to find other customers, and we had the chance to work with a bakery out of New Jersey, Orthodox Jews that came. So it kind of opens the the horizon, and so selling closer to the consumer. You know, we always say we feed the world, but we take it to the elevator, and we sure hope somebody eats it out there, but you never have that connection, or not that often, where as a grain producer you don't have that connection where somebody says, hey, I'm eating your product. So that's something that seemed to go well. And you know, we had a drought, so I guess that was not the greatest thing. But with that, the farm work went really easily. I just kind of, for some reason, back in the early 2010s and 15s, we were dealing with all that mud in Saskatchewan, which was always supposed to be a dry place. Well, now I found a dry place, and it can go pretty fast when things are dry. So it's all the harvest, the seeding harvest work, and also for a first year, just trying to put all this together. Yeah, there's times where like, am I fooling myself? Are we going to be able to get things done properly? And it went very smooth.
Awesome. Marcel, the birthday boy, what are 3 things that went really well, and what are you proud of this year?
Yeah, so number one, I guess what I thought I'd point out was our timely field operations with another 7% expansion on the farm. It kind of pushed yourself to try to better utilize what we have for equipment, and we were able to do that. So we were pleased with how that went. Everything was timely, but we too had a drought, so we didn't have rainfall that was squeezing us from timely field herbicide spraying or fungicide spraying, etc. So we are pretty intensive when it comes to those things, and those are stressful things for me, because I know that's what's costing me money when things aren't being done timely. So the whole crop season went very well that way, and I guess the dryness of most of the growing season helped facilitate that, I guess, with the added pressure of more acres. The other thing that went really well for me, I guess, happy to see on our variable costs, is that we've seen a lot of price reductions when it came to our macronutrients and nitrogen and phosphate, and our generic choices on some herbicide. So we along with diesel fuels, another thing to comment on, we dropped our costs by $20 or $30 an acre. And when you start to scale that, that becomes a significant contributor to the bottom line. So we're happy to see and to show our accounting firm that we can drive that one down lower as well. The third successful point, I guess, was teeing up 2021. We had like this 2020 from a positive perspective. It keeps on giving. We've been able to apply a lot of fall fertilizers. We've all of our herbicide timing in the fall or all of our herbicide applications were done in the fall in perennial weed control, and some of the newer residual products that we're clasping onto to better control for 2021. So yeah, we're the most prepared ever for a growing season, and that feels really good today.
Keeping the banker happy. I love it. Good work. Good work. Ron Krahn, what are 3 things that went really well, and what are you proud of in 2020?
3 things that went well. The first one would be trying to, I think we were achieving a better work-life balance. Self-care, going for massages, taking days off, quitting early in the evening, heading down to the lake to go kayaking, or kayaking in our flooded out gravel pit that we had after our flood at the end of June. We just focused more on, I focused more just on taking a bit more time, and it's been a wonderful summer. I think to follow Marcel's comments too, I think just having a great open fall just let us be really prepared for next year. And so, that's not something that we planned, although we were ready for it, but we were able to make use of the opportunity. And I'm hearing that right across Manitoba, is that, people just got done what they wanted to get done. So, yeah.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Ron. Back to you, Heather.
All right. So we're still reflecting on 2020, and now we're going to look at what's something that didn't go so well. So maybe I'll start with Ron this time. You can either say 3 things that didn't go well, or just maybe the one big thing that didn't go well. It's entirely up to you.
Yeah, we had a huge rainstorm. It wasn't a large storm as an area, but we had 8 to 13, depending on who you talk to, as much as 20 inches of rain in 5 days, from June 28th to about July 2nd. So that damaged a lot of crop. And so I would say that was probably the biggest thing that didn't go well. But what came out of that was the realization we had to give up on a field. We quit. We didn't spray fungicide. We didn't even scout it for bugs. We just gave up on it because about 40% of the field looked like a big fat zero. And I found that incredibly difficult. I just think it goes against farmers' will to, or reason to be, is to just give up on a field and say it's done. We're just not going to do anything. And so separating that emotion from the numbers told me that I just needed to walk away, but I couldn't. And that was a really difficult thing to do. So yeah, I would say that was the thing that I would say didn't go well this year.
Hey, thanks for that. That's great. Well, not great, but it's great to hear that you've recovered from it. Wow, choice of words, Heather. All right, let's swing it over to Frank. How about you? What's something that didn't go very well last year?
Well, I mentioned it a bit earlier, and it was a drought. I mean, we got 5, maybe 6 inches when we're supposed to be in a 12-inch precipitation, and 12 inches is not very much to start with. So when you get half, that puts it reflected into the yields. And I'm trying to understand generally it's been a 2/3 crop and 1/3 fallow, and I've always continuous cropped in my life. Always thought, well, maybe that's where we're gonna try to go. And so that now we understand what it can be to be just extremely dry, and it happens. We also spent too much on that crop, which and we're following the previous owner. That's kind of what the plan was. We didn't just push it on our own, but we spent too much on it. I think the silver lining is that we're going to be also able to, as Marcel said, now be able to reduce some of the costs, and so that may be something that will get a little bit better. And we had one. We picked up 2. We picked up 2 employees with the farm, long-term employees. One actually has been 30 years on that farm, and it's been great to learn from him. It's been very adaptable. But another one that was there 5 years just became kind of sick and hasn't been able to keep employment. And so you never like that. Great guy. And so we'll have to find someone else and hire someone else as well. So these are the 3 things, and the biggest one being the drought.
Okay, thanks for that. And who do we have next? Kent.
Yeah, so this one, I'm just going to kind of all mold it into one. And it's, about 5 to 7 years ago, my dad is the executive director, and myself, we kind of wanted to put a timestamp or a stamp on our farm on, all those buzzwords. So rather than having yield at the top of the priority list, things like, soil health, sustainability, we wanted to use some cover crops. We wanted to really focus on nutrient dense food. All those words kind of went to the top of our strategic planning. And that was about 5 to 7 years ago. So we totally revamped. We kind of took a left or a right turn, whichever side of the political spectrum you want to play today. But we kind of went a different direction with our farm. We changed fertilizer management. We went to liquid fertilizer in crop. We reduced some of our pesticide use, changed our management of our fertilizers. And now looking back, a few things, we went a little bit to one side, and I think to the detriment of a few other things. And so, I guess if I were to look back, it's the things we need to do better is just finding that equilibrium, finding that middle ground where we can use all of that information that we learned, which is a lot of good information, as well bring it back into more of an approach that is better managed from the strategic level. I think things like yield were hurt a little bit. Just the fertilizer strategy we had and things like that is something that now going forward we're gonna work on.
Nice. Nice. Sounds like a plan. Brave to take that big swing, but always lessons to be learned. And Marcel, last but not least, looking back, what didn't go so well last year?
Yeah, for us, it was our early seeded hard red spring wheat. It was the first thing we chose to plant. And as a result of this dryness that we had, it never had a timely rain. So for us, we have an embarrassing hard red spring wheat number that was under 50 bushels an acre. It was close to 50, but that's still not a good number in today's world. And so especially with the way hard red spring wheat, most commodities we're all growing and marketing have seen a 10 to 40% price bump year over year. And unfortunately, spring wheat hasn't come to the party. So when yield times average price come into play, then that's one of my disappointments. Soybeans was another one. And in fact, we had a 10-inch region of our farm of excellent rainfall, and neighbors with 60 bushel canola and 70, 80 bushel wheat. And the darn soybeans were 21 bushels an acre. So that's a disappointment. We had some hail on them and then a bit of an earlier frost. And but as a result, we're going to punish soybeans in 2021, and we're going to just do a little bit smaller experimental plot to maintain them, but nonetheless one of our marketers kind of said this is a 1 in 10 year opportunity for 2021, but I won't venture far into there, but it'll come at the expense of soybeans that have disappointed us. So yes, overall our yields were down 20%, so that was disappointing. However, with the way the marketing cycle has gone and what we had sold and didn't sell, we're going to be up 10 to 40% across all the other main commodities that we grow. So we, between durum going from a number 5 durum in 2019 to a number 1 pretty durum in 2020, another like $3 or $4 a bushel. It's a great thing. So anyhow, the yields are disappointing, but they always want to end up with the glass being half full, and commodity prices have saved the day.
Nice. And it sounds like you've already got a plan for what you're going to do differently going forward, which I think is where we're going next. So I'll pass it off to my partner in crime here, Dan, to do some looking ahead with us.
What crime did we commit again? What can you just clarify?
I can't talk about it.
You got to narrow that down. We
We're
can't
live
just
on
have this
Facebook.
broad.
We can't talk about it.
2020, we loved you, but go away. We're good. We're done. Let's talk about 2020. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm done with 2020. I mean, this is it. This is the end. So we're gonna glide into 2020 here. Looking ahead at 2021, what are 3 things that you would like to change and improve, Kent?
Yeah. Oh man, 3. Can I do like 12 or 15, Dan? Or
we can have like a weekly webinar, and we can just amortize it out over the whole year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think comes with the transition and looking forward onto what our plans for 2021. Focusing, I guess, on the beginning. I mean, when you plant the seed right off the bat in the spring, if you don't do that properly, it doesn't matter what you do for the rest of the year, you're not going to get a good crop. And so it's really prioritizing. I'm looking to change some of our seeding operations, the fertilizer aspect, like I said, coming back into more of a middle ground, doing a little more planning there, fine tuning some of my in-crop micro strategies. We've been dabbling because we went down a different path on I call soil health and nutrient dense food. Started to realize some different products that we can use to really help our plants grow. And I guess lastly, looking ahead, I'm really excited because we're a family farm. I do have my son who's becoming more involved in the farm, and being able to transition him onto some equipment and onto a few things is really exciting. That gives us an opportunity either to expand or diversify into some other things. So I think, but priorities obviously is focusing on our seeding regime and how we're going to do that. But yeah, really getting the family involved so we can expand would really be helpful.
Sounds exciting, man. Yeah. Super cool. Okay. Frank, what are 3 things you would like to change and improve looking ahead at 2021?
Well, it's actually interesting to hear Kent talking about soil health, and I commend him for to have looked at it about 5 years ago, and so it seems like he's a whole lot further down the line than I've been. And so one of my priorities is to focus on that, and I may have to give him a call and see what I'm going to do wrong here. But that's been something that for the last maybe 3-4 years, I dedicated a lot of time to learning, whether it was a conference or YouTubes or talking to different producers. And I think it's been a buzzword, but any opportunity has its challenges. And so we're trying to see what we can do with that. As Kent said, that nutrient density in crops has been, also a bit of a buzzword. So far, nobody is really willing to pay for that, it seems, or maybe just a small number of buyers. So with that, I think we want to also improve still our direct marketing approach. I think that's something that we could do, and try to differentiate ourselves with a product grown in a place in the world that has some appeal. And so with that, we're hoping to use the soil health part of it as one of the good attributes to our grains. And number 3 would be kind of setting a long-term direction on our team. My son is 17, and we homeschool, which in some ways, it's great because he's been able to, be doing some work with seeding and harvest. Sometimes it comes at the expense of maybe school, but we're trying to keep that going. But also see how our soil, like I said a little bit before, our main guy is 61, and within the next 4 years he'll probably be retiring. And we need to make sure that we start this direction toward a team that's going to make things happen, and that everybody knows where they're going. So these are the things we're going to be focusing on.
Awesome directions there, Frank. Thanks so much. Marcel, what are 3 things you'd like to change and improve looking ahead at 2021?
Well, I guess some of the points that I grabbed were, trying to seize strong marketing opportunities that exist in forward pricing. I'm trying to do a thorough investigation here lately, so it's high in my mind is evaluating our Canadian dollar and are we trending higher as we are? Will that continue, or will we gravitate back? And I'm getting some excellent feedback from the financial institutions, whether it's FCC or some of the big charter banks, and trying to get some opinions there, as all crops are sensitive to that. Durum in particular, we're enjoying a $9 bid on durum, and it'll be tough to get that if we see an 80-cent dollar going forward. So there's opportunities today to seize and trying to make sure that we're making informed decisions, I guess, on those marketing factors. Excited for 2021 because what comes out of once again, we have lower inputs seized for 2021, and so there's great margin opportunity. So I'm quite excited about what this year can bring, although we do have to grow it. And there's no question our subsoil moisture reserves, my old soil science professors would always say, soil moisture is like money in the bank, and we don't have very much. So however, we've never lost a crop at Christmas or on my birthday in December. So I'm usually too much moisture has hurt us more than not enough. So I'm not too concerned about that, but nonetheless, our margin opportunity looks quite good because we have seized the bulk of our crop inputs at fair value, and so I'm excited about that. We have a partnership opportunity with Horsch. They've introduced a type of a prototype seeder. It is available in the marketplace elsewhere. It is basically a single disc opener drill, and it's going to allow us to perhaps better manage our seed. We're all about that going forward. That's our next lowest hanging fruit, is trying to better manage our canola seed, which is about 8,000 acres on our farm. It's a significant input, and so we're going to try to work with some planters this spring and try to evaluate which planter we should have for 2022. And this drill on its own it sounds quite exciting, and having the nitrogen applied already, that takes away some of the salting or sensitivity to that expensive seed that I fret over. So and then I guess we also have recently just acquired a Agrifact sprayer, so it's another piece of the puzzle. If we get to more normal conditions involving rainfall in May and June, we're going to be very pleased on this sprayer. It's a European model. I guess we've been gravitating to the European equipment line the last number of years, from the claws, the combines, etc. Nonetheless, the Agrifact sprayer seems to, with wide booms and large tanks, and some of the adaptability to some other future technology. We're going to be very keen going forward here too, with weed technology and some of the other sensory devices for reducing our herbicide needed per field, and just trying to spray weeds and not trying to spray no weeds. So
That's interesting. You know, we've got one of your Lexian trades on the farm. So does that mean I'm going to show up one of these years and there'll be an Agrifact on the Aberhart farms? I mean, we get Terry to chime in on this.
it could very well be.
Holy doodle, and Agrifact on the farm. Whoa. We'll probably circle back a little bit on that, time permitting, and ask the panelists a little bit about equipment and technology. Got a question from the folks here. Appreciate that. But we want to get through our curriculum here. So Ron, looking ahead at 2021, what are 3 things that you would like to change and improve?
I met with our accountant yesterday, and he mentioned something again that he's mentioned multiple times over the years. We worked with him for must be close to 10 years now. And he mentions that the better managers succeed no matter what happens market-wise or weather-wise. And that's always stuck with me, and I think has kind of pushed me towards having a kind of a bent or a focusing on farm management. So I would say that's what I want to improve on. And so, you know, looking forward to transitioning already to next generation over the next while. So thinking about goals, what are my own both personal goals and farm goals? What kind of size do we want to be aiming for? And then the last thing kind of comes out of that. One thing that I've recognized is that our farm has been we have very specific roles, but we've kind of buttoned to hold ourselves into one drill operator and one sprayer operator, and at times that can get a little much. So my son is showing a lot of interest in farming and comes to it quite naturally, especially on the machinery side. So I think being focused on training someone to run the drill, or training him to run the drill and run the sprayer is high on my list for this coming year. And I know that takes some extra time, whether that's sitting in a lawn chair at the side of the field while he's running by himself. But being there at least, you know, that's maybe not the most efficient use of time, but training takes time, and so I think that's one thing I'm going to be focusing on this year.
Great answers, fellas. Awesome stuff. Very good feedback. I'm going to hand it over to Heather, and she's going to dive a bit deeper.
All right. So yeah, looking at some action steps. So what 3 steps are you planning to take to achieve your desired results? So kind of where the rubber meets the road now. Starting with Frank, because he just raised his eyebrows.
Well, 3 steps. So on the soil health part of it, we're going to be assessing products and different things, different practices to be able to do that. On the direct marketing aspect, it's going to be to assess new customers, find new customers, and contact them, and see what they're looking for. We'll be probably focusing on some of the artisan bakeries and different things, but we the chickpea side of it as well. We grow chickpeas, and I mean, you see the plant-based burger, and sure enough, I mean, the cattlemen are not too happy, but that's maybe an opportunity on our side. So what can we do with a crop like chickpeas? So we'll be looking at the opportunities we can have on that side of things. And then you know, the long-term team aspect will be just looking at how do we onboard people, and how do we have a plan that each part of the team knows, so we don't have too much of just uncertainty in the role of people. So these are the 3 areas.
Nice. Very good. All right, let's skip over to Kent now. So what 3 steps are you planning to take to achieve your desired results in 2021?
Yeah, I think mine's pretty straightforward. I think the number one word would be simplify for 2021. I don't think that's a 5-year plan, but I think it's this year for the transition we're going through. We have a lot of things to go through this winter. So whether it's simplify rotation, simplify, cost strategies, things like that. We're looking at upgrading or changing our seeding operation and our, iron to better handle the plan going forward of what we're going to do a little bit different. And I think going to also what Ron had talked about and what talking about training and management with family coming in and getting a little bit more involved, some training and some some downtime learning. So when you don't jump into May 1st and start seeding or spraying, you're training on the go. That's never a good time to train. We take quite a bit of pride in our safety on the farm and our safety plan, and so that's something that help achieve our goals for sure. And I think prioritizing, obviously, right back to that one word of simplifying for 2021.
Nice. Sounds like we could all use a little bit of simplification going forward after what we've all been through. All right, wonderful. Over to you, Ron. What are the 3 steps you're planning to take to achieve your desired results in 2021?
I've got 2. One of them is just searching and analyzing our numbers better. I've got a list on the back of my office door of all the things that I want to analyze on the farm. We have a tremendous amount of numbers and data that we collect at the farm, and going through those numbers, we track our hours for all employees and our partners or ourselves, and seeing where do we spend time. What are we being efficient at? Is there something we should be looking at doing differently? And then my time at TPAP in January really impressed on me the idea of SOPs, and that fits right in with training then as well. So how do you run a sprayer? A lot of that can be written down in steps, or at least things that a checklist every time you when you're getting ready to fill the tank. What are the things we need to do? It comes naturally to me, but if you're training somebody new that's never done it before, it's kind of a black box, and so I think SOPs is something that I want to focus on this winter. And there's all sorts of things from checklists in the shop to help employees maintain equipment on their own, to what does Ron do in the office? Let's say Ron gets hit by a bus tomorrow. Whoever's stepping in, what do they need to do? Who are our grain buyers? What are our account numbers, passwords? All that kind of stuff all fits into SOPs. So that's one of my plans for the next couple months.
Nice. I love hearing about the SOPs and kind of taking the guesswork out of what are we supposed to do and how are we supposed to do it. And as well, if you're looking at where we find efficiencies, certainly by writing down all the steps that it takes, you can maybe look at, actually, maybe we could do it this way. So that's perfect. And last but not least, Marcel, looking at 2021, what are the 3 steps you're planning to take to achieve your desired results?
Yeah. So again, I guess I want to seize the opportunity that COVID is delivering us. Typically, February is full of meetings, which I enjoy, and I love the contact with people. And so I rarely miss the Saskatoon crop production show. I rarely then transition quickly to the Brandon Ag Days and even get down to the one in Minot, North Dakota. So there's usually a lot of opportunity to learn and hear from great speakers, etc. But this year, with the COVID situation, we're going to seize the opportunity of trying to better take on some of the administrative things that I've done a great job of putting aside. So RACI charts, setting up people's roles and their accountability, or to try to articulate that better for everybody involved. SOPs, what Ron had brought up is excellent. That's one of the points that I had. We took on a new series of combine this year, and we were bugging Mark Dimmler too much. He might be on this, but other guys that run the same equipment, and so we're going to try to build our SOPs, including those basic operations and settings, and it's all in our WhatsApp chat group. But a year from now, we'll lose all that. So we're going to make sure we go back this winter and collect that information. We took better pictures of this basic hookup of equipment, and how we need to set up our monitors. And so we want to get our SOPs built this winter. We have no excuse, and it needs to happen. And a better, more formal paperwork with our service and equipment and on our parts. So there's a lot of opportunity to buy parts in advance and keep it stocked better. And so we are doing those things, but we're going to do them even better and at a higher level. And this winter is going to present that opportunity. So yeah, planning and training for all of us. I guess we'll see if the training, yeah, and as a chat group here today, let's say, or on the Zoom meeting, this may present more opportunities of learning. I'd like to send various people here, to Omaha and or other places for training, Brandon, but that may not happen. But this vehicle may make it happen even more so. So I guess our second point is on spraying. We did buy that new sprayer, but we still have the other 2 machines. So we're going to be involving more people on the team with field spraying, and so everybody is kind of trained on that. But nonetheless, it's a big responsibility when you're a tailgate chemist and you're mixing and trying to do it right and not do it wrong. There's very little room for doing things wrong on the farm. So there'll be some more management involved with SOPs in regard to field spraying. And then the financials, Christian Hebert, we all know Christian, and I'm embarrassed he could talk circles around me and I wouldn't. So I need a lot of work there, and we are working towards we have a great opportunity this winter to get closer to our financials, like Ron also mentioned.
Nice. Yes, that infamous 5% rule that we all reference, and then putting it into practice is a different story. Awesome. Well, it sounds like some incredible plans going forward. I will switch it over to Dan, who can finish up with some more kind of next steps. And
yeah, I was going to comment. I feel like I might have had an impact with my whiteboard video. Everybody's talking a little bit more like Farmer A with the SOPs and the employee handbooks and the training and all that, rather than just, sometimes chucking tools. It's funny because it's true. Anyways, last formal question. And after that, we can, get a little bit of questions from the audience if we have time and everybody still has a level of interest in the discussion here. Let's face it, it's the end of the year. There's nothing else going on. We're all together. This is great. We can take a little bit extra time if we need to. But the last formal question is about what are the things that you're going to need to get to doing the things that you talked about, the things that you want to change and the actions you're going to take. So let's start. I'm going to keep with my pattern here. Kent, what 3 things can best help you on your path to success looking ahead in 2021?
Yeah, I think mine can be summed up to 3 fairly short points here, Dan. And I'll start maybe, I guess, in no particular order, but obviously training. We have some opportunity right now with people around. Maybe not until after the new year. Let's celebrate Christmas and our time with our family. But come first part of January, some training for some new equipment and different equipment. And then down to the last 2, which is most important. Something that can best help is time. We have time because of being stuck, I guess, closer to home, that we have time to go through our strategic priorities. We have time to go through our plans, our standard operating procedures. So that's going to help, definitely just taking the time. And support. I'm going to put a useless plug in here. 15 years ago, I think, or so now, one of the first clients for Matt Gosling was our farm when he first got going on his, his business. And we went away from that, and, we have a lot of our own information, but I think just to go back and try to get some extra help on agronomy, we're going to find some advisor or somebody to help us just to get ourselves back on track and look at some of our soil health and our soil plans and what's happened over the last 15 years. So just help. Whether it's agronomy or financial support, that's something that we're going to do, especially when you can do it online like this. You can find people all over the place that can give you that online help as well. It doesn't have to be at your kitchen table. And so I think those are the 3 things that are going to help us as a path for success.
Good work. I like it. Frank, what 3 things can best help you on your path to success in 2021?
So since I'm south of the border, and I'm going to use a firearm analogy, and yesterday actually I was stepped into a pickup truck in Texas where there were two assault rifles in the back. So that was a little bit of a different
one for you, one for me.
shock.
Nice.
But I do deal with feral pigs here. But anyway, I'd say, you know, ready, aim, fire. And I guess, you know, all these things we're trying to do, we're learning. I mean, it's the learning part of it, trying to find the right people and not always trying to go where you try to find the answers you want to find, but try to find, you know, a little bit the opposition and the pros and cons. So we can be better informed. But if it's just only about learning, well, it's not good enough. Then there's the implement part. So that would be the aim, I guess, I would say. So implementing some of these things, when we look at I talked about the soil health part of it has been a big part. So implementing more of that. And then after that, there is the assessing, is it working, and try to not fool ourselves also because we want it to work. I mean, that's important to have a goal and not to give up so quickly if it doesn't quite work right away. But let's not just fool ourselves if something is not happening. So yeah, ready, aim, fire.
Love that. That's a really cool philosophy. Cool. Marcel Van Staveren, birthday boy, looking ahead at 2021. What 3 things could best help you on your path to success, my friend?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of feel that working with professionals and these professionals are everybody on this panel and or other groups that I'll mention here. You know, really been excited working with Exceed Marketing, putting in a few plugs here, but you know, it's a grain marketing entity, and they've really helped step up our vision of the world and seizing good market opportunities. So that's one example. Corey at Crop Pro, we've been a long-term customer with their variable rate technology. He had one of the greatest tours this summer, and one of the greatest tragedies is none of us from our team at JBM went. And you know, we have a lot of intellectual power here. You know, a lot of formal education and a lot of keen interest, and we need to do a better job to make sure that we prioritize those opportunities in getting to the crop tours, if indeed we can participate in the summer, and or involving ourselves there. So we so much to be learned, and we need to make sure we invest in those type of opportunities in the summertime. And so we failed there. Like our peer group, I'm involved with the Power Farm group with Rob Syke, and you know, we've been a long-term group of over 10 years. Over a course of time, we really you know, start to feel accountable to one another, and we learn so much from one another, and of the speakers that we bring in, and all the learning that we do. However, we also need to implement, or the opportunity then is to make sure that we implement some of the strategies that we learned. And so that's we become accountable to one another in certain ways, and so that's what I need to do going forward here is trying to work more with a lot of my colleagues and or professional groups, whatever box you want to put yourself in. You know, like there's so much unique ideas, and one of our missing pieces is a grain dryer, and we're going to take a deeper dive this winter. One of the guys in our group, you know, he assessed it by, he wasn't putting his grain dryer where he wanted it. He put it where there was a large natural gas line, and was able to seize an asset for 30 cents on the dollar or maybe less, and not have to pay the $100,000 for the natural gas line to so it you know, there's different ways to assess some opportunities, and there's a lot of pieces that people bring to the table.
Good for you for having that collaborative worldview, Marcel. And finally, Ron Krahn, 2021. What's 3 things that can best help you on your path to success, Ron?
Well, I'm still in winter mode, so I'm going to just talk about what my plan for the winter is. But
yeah, that's okay.
It's easy to have a bunch of things in your mind as to this is what I want to achieve. But I know I've had some winter projects that I had in the back of my mind, but because I never really was intentional about actually scheduling or planning when I was going to work on those things, it was easy for the winter to just disappear. And I think this year, because we do have more time, there's not any in-person conferences type of thing that can take a lot of time actually. I'm already thinking, what does my January to March look like? When do I need to schedule time to be working on this project or that project? So I think just being intentional about my work or plan, I think, is one thing. Marcel mentioned peer groups. I'm part of a peer group. I found it exceptionally helpful, and I think an extension of that is just rubbing shoulders with people that are smarter than me. And so a group like this, that's partly why I said yes, and partly why I go on panels like this, is that it's the prep time and the rubbing shoulders with people. It's different than just being as a participant, but when you actually have to plan and put yourself out there, that it helps you be kind of think through. I've been changing my answers here even as we've been going along, just as I've been thinking about it, realizing, oh no, that actually needs to be a higher priority than something else. So just rubbing shoulders with people, I think is going to help me achieve some of my goals.
Yeah, I think when you contribute, you get back, and I just see so many great themes here, you guys. It's I'm really proud of everything you guys have said and shared on the call today, and I want to leave some room for people to ask some questions for you guys to comment on it. But some of the themes I've been picking up as I've been taking notes is, overall, everybody's really thankful for the year, and you guys talked about work-life balance and resilience and family, and some of the upside in COVID where you do have time for different kinds of things. Hopefully the world gets back to normal soon, but there's a focus on soil health and nutrient density and new ways of thinking about farming and your customers. And one thing I really liked as well, you guys, was the training. It sounds like you're all talking about training and developing more systems, which is ultimately leads to more freedom in a company if you can get everybody trained up and on the same page. And then the value of collaborating, which we're doing here today, in peer groups and working with professionals. I love all that. So I'm going to pitch a couple questions. Feel free to jump in. I'm going to open it up to all the panelists if they feel like they have something pertinent to share. Keep everybody on their toes. But the first question that we had here was from Sean Heineman. How has the advent, progress in technology helped or hindered your operations, specifically with equipment? I don't know if we need to get in the sprayer wars. Frank, I know you were running the carbon fiber boom on the John Deere there this summer. I don't know if you tell us about that advent in technology versus, the 160 footer on Agrifact and the sprayer wars, but I don't know if you want to kick that off.
Do I want to kick that off? No, I won't go there. I think Marcel wins.
The man with the bigger boom wins.
That's too specific. I think when we look at implement technology, I think it's very easy to look at some of the great things you see out there. Oh, I gotta have this new gadget or this new thing, and definitely maybe 15 years ago I was there, where you always think you got to have the next greatest thing, and I wouldn't discount it, but I think we've also seen such an increase in prices of these of that equipment and increased depreciation as well, that I'm taking maybe a bit of a step back, and I have, and maybe it's been like the angel and demon on my shoulder saying, well, maybe I still like this new technology, but I also see that it seemed like it's priced at levels that, do you really see a return on some of these things? So I'm still, looking at experimenting on some of these things, but maybe not looking at just the last little toy out there. And that pride has actually gone away a little bit, and I'm looking at all the other things that the incremental gains that you can get from actually doing a better job. Because every time you get a new piece of equipment, it comes with a learning curve, and I'm all about learning, but that learning curve can be expensive as well, and then you don't take advantage of some of these great things. So I think there needs to be a balance there. And I'm not saying we're going to go get some diskers, but I think we're going to, be a little more careful on that side of things.
Interesting philosophy. I love it. Yeah, definitely. You're growing in your mindset there. Anybody else want to comment on that particular question before we move on? You want to jump in, throw down, rough and tumble, get at it? Anybody else? I can ask it another way. Equipment replacement can be attacked from different angles. Do you guys look at per hour, per acre, or what on major items like combines and sprayers? It seems without constant upgrading, you can soon get behind the curve on what the dollars look like. Comments? This has got to be like the eternal struggle of the farmer. Equipment. Ron?
Well, I thought we had figured out the sweet spot with equipment. We don't run new equipment. It's typically 5 to 12 years old kind of thing. And I'd even written out some of my responses saying we were in the sweet spot. And then we found out we got a $30,000 repair on a tractor that we found out yesterday. So I'm going to have to backstep a little bit. But that's part of what my winter project is. And it's, there's always the comment, well, you're either paying the salesperson or you're paying the mechanic, kind of insinuating that every answer is right. And I'm not convinced it is, but I think it very much, there are some differences. So between our 5,000 acre farm or Marcel's 22,000 acre farm, some of the efficiencies, how many acres can you push through a combine? Some of that's driven by geography and weather. So I don't think there's a one size fits all what someone in the Peace River country has to do compared to Frank's more dryland country as to what they can expect out of a piece of equipment are different. So I think though, knowing what does your tractor actually cost you, and taking everything into account, or your combine or your sprayer, I think even the efficiency, the Crop Intelligence Summit that was on 2 weeks ago had some numbers about increasing the efficiency of running your sprayer from 40% of the time of your 40% of your engine hours being spray on versus 55%. And the acres per hour that increased just by changing some efficiencies. And it was interesting, the numbers they had were for someone running a 1-year-old 120-foot wide sprayer, and our efficiency was almost the same with a 10-year-old sprayer with a smaller boom and a smaller tank. So in similar type of geographic regions. So I think back to Frank's point of sometimes all that's new isn't always the best. That still sits well with me.
I always feel a real sense of pride for the fact of what a numbers guy you are, that I sold you a piece of iron, Ron, because I was like, this guy is so analytical. But you ran that John Deere 4700 for a long time. It was a very beautiful machine, and that was pretty heartwarming to see. But it's a challenge. How do you manage your iron? Do you, Kent or Marcel, do you guys have any thoughts on how you manage your iron by the hour? Or I guess the first step is measuring it, eh? Anybody want to jump in on that?
Sure. Like typically we like to talk, or I bring it back to the per acre cost. And there's no question it's embarrassing amongst my peer group in the Power Farm group how well some people do there compared to the guy that wants to buy new stuff, which is typically what has been our model. And it always feels, or especially going forward, I guess it feels like there could be margins are being squeezed if we're participants in the high land market, high price of land market, high price machinery market. The canola seed guys have learned that they can keep charging more. And so anyhow, and now we can get political and talk about a carbon tax. It feels like we're getting attacked from all sides. And that's how the business has always been. So we're all trying to seize those opportunities, the lower hanging fruit. And to me, it feels like machinery has a lot of room to, or that for my business, there's a lot of more room for improvement on being more like a Ron and looking at the 2-3 year old or older machinery. Perhaps we're keeping things longer. So that's how I feel is my next thing, is to better scrutinize, even though I just bought a very expensive new European sprayer.
That's so cool. Let's be real.
Say, Marcel. Marcel, you need to keep buying new equipment. Otherwise, we won't be able to buy some used stuff. So please.
Yeah, where are we going to get our trades from, Marcel? Be real here. Come on. We're going to have to change our plans for 2021 if you got no trades.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we got some feedback here. I love Robert Semeniak said, I love Frank's comments about technology. I've also stepped back from living on the bleeding edge as well. Sounds like a rock song. I love it. Good comments. So Kent, you haven't had a chance yet to comment on the whole machinery thing.
Yeah,
Why don't you dive in?
Yeah, for sure. So I think this is an interesting question that you can have a beer or coffee with anybody, and everybody has the right answer and everybody has the wrong answer all at the same time. Whether you're 1,000-acre farm, 4,000 or 50,000-acre farm, managing your iron is very different. And I think going back to Frank's comment about technology is only good if you use it. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily use the technology. And so if you're going to use the technology, I think you got the right answer. I think the only caution I have is a little concern is just the fact that where is iron going? Where is the pricing of iron and the secondhand iron from a 2 to 5 year to a 10 year, and just where is that whole industry going is mind-boggling to me. Looking at current pricing, and so that's just to be mindful of how that affects your farm, whether on a per acre or per bushel or total farm basis. But like I said, you're wrong and you're right every single time.
Right. Yeah, everybody's got a different perspective on it for sure. That's fair. From Bernie McLean, obviously we all farm ultimately to produce food for ourselves and the world. I enjoy the family working together aspect with the continued push from consumers and government, our own and around the world. It does at times make me question what we are truly doing. This speaks to a bit of my own anxieties, but can you each touch on why we do what we do? Maybe we should have started with that, but great question. Thank you. Who wants to jump in on that at Rough and Tumble? Just get right in there. Ron's kind of, he's looking for data.
I'll step in on that one.
Okay, perfect.
So, I think everybody is driven differently, and I think this goes the same thing. There isn't a right or wrong answer to this, but what keeps me up or gets me up in the morning is we're growing food and we're growing product. I won't necessarily dive into growing it for the world. I agree with Frank on this one, but I think we're growing food for somebody, and we want to do it as best as possible. We're stewards of the land, and we want to do it best as possible. And whether it's for the succession of your farm as a family to pass it on, or if it's succession of a farm to have somebody else take it over and run it, I think we want to make the land better, and that's kind of why we do it.
So cool. Very cool. I love the why. Who else wants to jump in? Marcel?
Yeah, so like my history begins around 1990 when I started to actively pull levers and invest in the business of farming, and I guess for us, our motivation in this game of grain production is the excitement of watching our soil fertility improve. We went from a high tillage environment and even a fallow history in the 80s to where we are today in zero and min till. So we're just really enjoying seeing our nitrogen supplying power, our phosphate supplying power of our soils improving. There used to be a check strip or that the soil test would suggest you're going to grow 5 or 8 bushels an acre if you don't fertilize. And before it was maybe pretty close, but now we're getting triple the yields in those check strips. And so we know we're on the right track, and it's exciting from a long-term perspective to see the success of our good cropping practices and soil management. So to me, I guess agriculturally speaking, really excited about our improved soils. And I haven't invested in any fall cover crops, and it just seems if you think cover crops, they happen. In the fall of the very moist fall of 2019, I just had to think cover crops, and all of a sudden my ground turned green, and I had, whether it was wild oats or other volunteer crops or whatever, it was like, well, hey, I didn't spend a nickel here, but I've got a mat of material. And even this, we had caught a lucky rain in early August, 3 or 4 inches, and my ground was green again. So I thought, you can't go and make a statement that the guy with cover crops is going to have a more healthier soil than, and we believe in spraying in October. So we get quite a bit of so you can just think about things and they might happen.
Yeah, you mean you can't just manifest a cover crop out of thin air because you want to? It feels good. The best cover crops can be the free ones. I knew Danny Albright was going to jump in on cover crops. He just can't help himself. We're still on. We're still. Oh man, we're gonna switch to cover crops. I don't think I'm gonna need a bio break before we get into cover crops, but we don't want to go there. I think we're gonna stick with the why and try and wrap this up. It's a great ending point. So, Frank, do you want to talk about your why?
My why, I think it's a ever changing one, but the one thing that doesn't change is I'm a lifelong dreamer. And when I was a kid in France at 14 years old and looking at North America, and it was all about equipment and how big it was and how wide open it was. And today I'm, really, I'm at that spot where I never thought I would be in Montana doing what I love to do. And it's shifting. It's shifting toward, okay, what's the bigger picture? How can we, a little bit like Kent said, what do we do? Is it, feeding the world? Is it feeding that certain person that's going to buy this, 1 pound of flour from you? It's all of them. And what do you do as, how are you going to leave your farm as for to a healthy point? So, and that's really close to you here, Kent. And so, but I also look at my son and I see him wondering, more on the smaller aspect of it, of the equipment. I think, well, think bigger, but I wasn't thinking bigger when I was 17. So it's something, it's a process, and I keep dreaming. And I think when you, that's where sometimes I get maybe annoyed about planning, because I feel like you're throwing a brick in my dream here. I mean, but planning is necessary. Yeah, dreaming is a nice way to be somewhere beautiful without being there.
Yeah, I really appreciate that about you, Frank. You're not just a dreamer, you're a doer, you're an adventurer. You've been all around the world, man. You continue to inspire all of us. It's good stuff, and
Well,
I appreciate that. So we're gonna likely wrap this up. I think just it's we could continue talking, and I think we should. I hope maybe in the new year. Obviously, people seem to like this format. We'll do more of it on different topics. And Danny, you were asking about strategies for farmland expansion. I actually have a concept surrounding that, or conversation we could have in the new year, probably beyond the scope of today in the interest of everybody's time. But Ron, I'm going to kind of give you the final word on the why of farming to wrap this up. And yeah, take it away.
Probably in some of my darker hours in the last year, I was really questioned why I farmed. And I'm not convinced that I have a good answer, but it's probably a combination of a bunch of factors. What other job can you wake up every morning where you're pretty much in control of what you're going to do that day? You can take your kids to the farm if you want. You can work with your parents. You can watch grandparents work together with their grandkids, or maybe even uncles and nephews and nieces, or aunts and whatever else. That opportunity of working with family, as much as it has some interesting dynamics, is very, very rewarding, that I know a lot of other people are quite envious of. So I don't think we should undermine what that value is. Being able to work outside, let's face it, most of us wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't profitable. Maybe not every year, but it's a means to an end of making money so that we can live. If it wasn't profitable, we wouldn't do it. So that's part of it too. There's a lot of different things. I think I've touched on most of them.
Excellent. Well said. Heather, did you have some words to wrap things up quickly?
I promise I'll be very quick, although I would love to just go on and on and on.
I'm going to get my gong out. Wrap it up.
No. I just want to say what a great opportunity to gain insight into really the thinking that goes behind the decision making in terms of reflection and moving forward. We often hear that, farm business management is this unknown thing. It's daunting, and we don't have time for what we want to do anyways. And there's no time. So I think being able to take the time to focus on this, especially now at the end of the year, before most people are starting to think about next year, is just a really great opportunity to really dive into what's going on, into the thinking behind your decisions. So I just want to thank you so much for being so so open and so transparent in joining us here today. And thank you, Dan, for inviting me to be part of this incredible conversation.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm going to give each of you a chance to wrap up your thoughts one at a time. Kent?
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity, Dan. And it was great to meet for the first time some of the panelists, and it's been a long time for a couple of the other ones, but yeah, just stay safe and healthy. Merry Christmas, and hope 2021 is a fruitful and prosper one.
Appreciate that. Thanks so much, Ron. Oh, you're on mute. That's kind of, we need a t-shirt slogan for you're on mute 2020.
Yeah, I was the first guy to do it. It's been a great experience. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas. It's been a wonderful experience, even just prepping for it, and hopefully the people that were listening in got at least one good idea. Someone asked me yesterday, well, what's this about, and do you think it's worth your time? And I said, I can't guarantee anything, but usually with conferences, if you can leave with one good idea that you walked away with after an hour, that was probably worth it. So hopefully everyone left with at least one thing.
Well, you gave everybody a lot of good ideas, all of you. Frank?
Well, I want to thank you, Dan, for inviting me on this, and Heather for doing it. This was really awesome. I said at the start, I know each one of you, and each one of you has given me some inspiration at some point, whenever, if we're on a board or having a beer sometime, and so I would encourage everyone to surround themselves with great people. Ron, you said it. That's getting smarter people around yourself. I'm sorry, I didn't rise to that level. So I mean, you're the smarter one. But it's awesome to be able to learn. It's part of I think agriculture is still somewhat of a teamwork that's out there, and if you don't have all these people that just push you forward, well, it's very easy to just become mediocre and say like, yeah, that's just good enough. And so thank you for each one of your ideas, and Merry Christmas, and keep going with your families. That's where it's at, and maybe we'll become normal. Maybe this is going to be our new normal, and we just have to look at the opportunities where they are. So thanks.
Thank you, Frank. Absolutely. And Marcel, final word?
Yeah, most of the words have been said and said well. I guess I wanted, my only emphasis is on some of what Frank talked about. Frank and I were on a board together at one time. We were on an opportunity to be on with the Indian Head Research Farm and some local research. And, those opportunities, building your sphere with professionals and academics and other successful farmers, it's just a great, it's been the success for our farm. And so that certainly needs to be emphasized. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, Merry Christmas. And for the record, I've been just pouring coffee on my birthday here. So maybe I'll change
no Kahlua yet?
But we'll have to see what time happy hour comes, if indeed it does. Happiness is on these farms. So and all the best, everybody, in 2021. It's today things look fantastic for 2021. We have a lot to be excited about.
Very much appreciated. And I want to leave everybody with a comment from someone on the call today, but we heard from you folks, but there was a lot of people just listening. But I truly hope that everybody listening, if you actually went through the exercise, got some clarity of thinking and had some eureka moments. And once you get things clear in business, that's the way to go ahead. So from Martin Prince, I think he said it best. It is uncanny how similar we farmers rationalize our decisions and view where we are versus where we want to go. I appreciate all comments from your panelists, mostly because they reaffirm my own thought paths. Thank you to you all. And also there was a shout out for Ron sharing, his honesty on his mental health journey and sharing why he farms, and just lots of great comments from everybody about the quality of the conversation with the panelists. So I want to say thank you to everyone. It's been a wild 2020, but we guarantee we will get punched in the mouth first thing 2021, but we are tough, we're strong, we're good at what we do, and we're just getting better. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Heather, for being my sidekick on this. Thanks to all the folks the panelists. Thanks everybody who came on the call. And we will see you in 2021. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Heather.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great holiday.
Bye now.